Hi, beautiful people. How are ya? I hope you're having a great day. Fibromyalgia causes a deep ache in the muscles. So, when pressure is put on an area of the muscle, it can be excruciating. In days past, researchers and doctors considered fibromyalgia tender points to be the best way to decide if someone had fibro, even though there is pain in almost all of the muscles, if not all. Today, I want to talk about fibromyalgia tender points. Here we go. Tender points are areas of pain around joints, but not in the joints themselves. These places hurt when you press on them. They're often not deep areas of pain. Instead, they seem to be just under the surface of the skin. The doctor presses on the tender spot with enough force to turn his or her fingernail white. They're found on the neck, back, chest, elbows, hips, buttocks, and knees. The place that's the most tender is usually a very small area, about the size of a penny. These spots are much more sensitive than other nearby spots or areas. In fact, pressure on one of the tender points with a finger will cause pain that makes the person flinch or pull back. Fibromyalgia tender points were once used for diagnosing fibro. There are 18 possible tender points throughout the body. To be diagnosed with fibromyalgia, you needed 11 of those 18 to be painful. Hi, all. I am bringing you a live performance of the 18 tender points. And we're going to start with, you can follow along by going to my link that shows these tender points. So we're going to start with the lower neck. Where they're talking about is you got to find the muscle because, this muscle runs all up and down in here. We're talking about the lower neck muscle in the front. So here's the neck muscle. When those particular spots are touched, I definitely know it. And there they are, right here. See if you can find them as well. Very uncomfortable to push there. The next location is the edge of our upper breast. And so following along here, they literally mean, it's way up here, close to our shoulders. So we're going to find our upper breast area, and it's up here along the top. Yep, and there it is. I have seen people do it all the way into here. I think my former rheumatologist did that as well, and that does not feel very well right there either. This may be trigger points for me, but this is the area they're talking about as far as the edge of the upper breast. So it's the edge, not, in here. Although I guess you could, so you could say right here would be the edge as well. Looking at the picture definitely shows it out here. So, I'm not sure. Either one. This definitely hurts worse to press here than it does for me to press here, although this doesn't feel very well either. Then the next location is the arm near the elbow. And so you want to hang your arms down to about right here. And it's obviously this is the area of the elbow, and it's just above that. And it doesn't take long to find that area. It's definitely right there. And I have it on both sides. But then we're going to go to the knee. Very interesting, I think, is the knee, the location of the knee. I think it's a little bit easier when you're sitting to try to find it. I don't know if you can see from there, but it definitely doesn't feel too well. Let's see. Oh, there it was. Up. Yep, there it is on both sides. Again, you're pushing with a little bit of force, you know. Then we're going to look at the base of the skull in the back of the head. Let me get a chair for this. It's a little bit higher than what we did in the front. And you're going to find it, again, it's in the muscle. So hold my head up right there. Then we want to look at the hip bone. Find the center of your hip bone right here. So it's not hard to find it when you turn around. And, well, yeah, just touching my hip bone sends me to the moon a little bit, because probably the first tender point I ever got, and they said I had bursitis in my hips, but I think it has to do with those tender points. Then we're going to look at the upper outer buttocks. So it's not hard. You can start to feel where, oh, woo, hit that one. Yep, right there. Oh my goodness, that's probably my most painful one, is that one. We're going to look at the back of the neck, the base of the neck. So that would be down here. So let's poke around a little. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, wow. Yep, there it is. The back of the shoulders. I'm not sure if I can do this one, but I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, so this is our shoulder bone. You want to kind of find, you want to relax that shoulder, and you want to find just right under. If you're like me, this is a very tender area anyways, but you want to find that spot that's more painful than other spots. There it is. There's that one. Right at the base, it's kind of, you're getting close to the spine, but you're not on the spine. And you're not on the shoulder blade. You're on the muscles. Same as this side. Try to relax. Oh, there it is. But you also needed to have widespread pain in all four quadrants of your body, left side, right side, above the waist, below the waist. That had lasted for more than 3 months. According to John Dombrowski, MD, from the creakyjoints.org website, this anesthesiologist and pain management doctor at the Washington Pain Center in Washington, D.C., stated what is believed to be the cause of tender points. Quote, when muscles get spasms, those involuntary contractions, they tend to have a lack of oxygen and blood. That lack of oxygen and buildup of acid and carbon dioxide cause more pain in the muscles, which causes greater spasms. And then it's a vicious cycle. He went on, We still don't know the reason for these spasms and increased sensitivities, he said, but what's causing the pain is a cyclical event, unquote. Let me be clear here that it wasn't ever just tender points. As I stated, in 1990, researchers determined that pain, the location of pain, each of those four quadrants, morning stiffness, fatigue, sleep difficulties, and the number, location, and scores of the tender points, like from mild to greater. And the combination of all of these elements would differentiate fibromyalgia from other conditions. All I know is that most of the time, when I get muscle spasms in my legs, feet, and toes, that's where I get them, is because I'm cold. I don't get muscle spasms anywhere else on the body, so I guess this is happening without my knowledge. Spasms occur at night when I'm lying in bed, and maybe I've forgotten to turn my bed sheet heater on. So I'm not sure what is meant here, but perhaps this is what was thought back in the day, or that's what in part is happening underneath the skin. I don't know. But that article was written in 2019, not really that long ago. The problem with tender points is that pain can improve over time, and then it can increase over time. So you can have horrific pain for a week, and then the next week you're feeling a lot better. I know that's what has happened to me in the past and currently. Maybe it's due to how tired I am because of my sleep issues or how much stress I feel like I'm under, or maybe a lack of exercise and my level of physical activity. So, researchers decided that tender points were not needed for a diagnosis. Doctors will rule out other pain conditions like osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or lupus because symptoms can overlap. When an area of the body on someone who has fibromyalgia is touched by another human being, it hardly matters where the touch is because it generally hurts or is uncomfortable. This pain is seen in only about 3% of the population. In 1990, the researchers of the fibromyalgia diagnostic criteria decided that we needed 11 of 18 tender points to be present and cause pain for at least 3 months. But under the 2010 guidelines, counting tender points were removed for a diagnosis. Researchers found that many patients who had fibromyalgia weren't meeting the tender points criteria. The main researchers for fibrodiagnosis said, when we first latched onto these tender points, we thought they were more than they turned out to be. It requires pressing with a certain force or pressure. And there were doctors who used more force than other doctors. Counting tender points turned out to not be very useful diagnostically. Tender points are very subjective, and unfortunately, fibro pain can fluctuate. So, on one day, when our pain is intense, that tender point is going to hurt pretty bad. But then on another day, when our fibro pain is not intense, that same tender point isn't going to hurt very badly, right? So, too many patients weren't getting diagnosed when they clearly had fibromyalgia. Also, symptoms of fibro were often overlooked, such as sleep difficulties, fatigue, and not feeling refreshed when waking in the morning after sleeping the full night, and cognitive issues like fibro fog. As I said in that last video, it made creating this particular topic very difficult. I was diagnosed in 2008 when tender points were needed, but my pain was so intense that I certainly had pain everywhere except for my chest and face. I met the criteria, but even then, my rheumatologist asked me about sleep issues because it was part of the criteria. It's just not a lot of doctors did ask their patients. I mean, when she walked into the when she walked into the waiting area where I was waiting on her to come in, I'd fallen asleep in there sitting straight up. And little did I know that I most likely had sleep apnea at that time, too. I also had cognitive issues like struggling to stay focused. Today, diagnostic criteria rely more on patients' self-reported symptoms than on a doctor's physical exam of tender points. The criteria include not only information on our pain and the location of our pain, but also our other symptoms like fatigue, sleep problems, and cognitive issues. There are three criteria I'd like to discuss: the UNIS and Massey criteria, the 2010/2016 American College of Rheumatology or ACR criteria, and the ACTTION-APS pain taxonomy criteria. I don't talk about juvenile fibro very often, but the UNIS and Massey criteria generally used for kids, but fibromyalgia in children up to age 20 is prevalent in 1 to 6% in school age children and adolescents. 84% are female, aged 9 to 20. And I just can't imagine that. So the 2010 and 2016 guidelines were combined, and it became the 2016 revised ACR requirements. There's the WPI and the symptom severity scale, and they're combined together to make one instrument. The third choice for diagnosing fibro is that Action APS pain taxonomy criteria. I didn't really feel the need to show an example of that one, but some researchers or physicians may use it. For treating fibromyalgia, there are over 100 treatments, maybe more, that can be used, and none of them work very well. Movement is considered one of the best treatments according to researchers and health practitioners, such as stretching. Got to do that first thing in the morning before you even get out of bed. At least stretch the areas that are the most difficult for you, which for me are my legs and ankles and hips. It doesn't harm the muscle tissues as long as the movement progression is slow. Basically, a physician should use less touch and more talk. That's what I think. So there's that. But even still, sometimes touch is needed. Also, low aerobic exercise and resistance exercise. Swimming is my best friend. Sometimes it can hurt a little, but it isn't causing harm if you take it slow. We need to relearn what we thought we knew. Movement is key. And I've also told you going swimming. That's wonderful for the muscles. I've been swimming at the Y since the first week of January. I go twice a week. Well, At the time that I'm recording this, that's what I'm doing. We'll see the beginning of March how that goes. Here's a quote. Improvements in symptoms through aquatic exercise can be explained based on its vasodilating action, analgesia through the release of endorphins, increased capillarization, muscle trophism, and oxygen consumption, in addition to a decrease in body weight. I haven't lost any weight from it yet. That would be nice. If you watch my video on getting my mood swings under control, you know that a big part of what we need is mind-body intervention. A healthy thought pattern is key, and a healthy network of family and friends that care for us is needed. We're here for you too. About 75% of us seek massage therapy, suggesting that it is helpful. I know I love getting a massage because it doesn't hurt, not to me. Massage improves my symptoms, but then there are some of you who find it to be painful. Maybe that's the massage therapist is putting too much pressure on your muscles. Being aggressive with our muscles is not good for our condition. The effects of massage can last for about 6 months for me. I really love the Swedish massage because the therapist uses long, gentle strokes and circular movements on top of the muscles using oil. And that actually feels good on my back. And it really feels good and relaxing. The massage therapist I've gone to, as I've said many times, uses whatever treatment she thinks is best of what I need at the moment. She might even incorporate a deeper massage to work out the knots that I get in my back. You have to do what works for you, right? Of course, I told her I had fibromyalgia. She knows it, and that's important that we need to tell them, right? Concerning fibromyalgia tender points, physicians will usually recommend the following types of medication: antidepressants, anti-seizure meds, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, injections of steroids or other medications into the tender point. Never had that done. There's also research on Botox that can be used for muscles that spasm. Low aerobic exercise and muscle strengthening can help. Stretching daily is necessary. Acupuncture, massage, acupressure, physical therapy, yoga, and cognitive behavioral therapy are great alternative therapies. As many of you know, not all of these work on all of us. So let's talk about men. There is little research on the differences between men and women with fibromyalgia. My dog just barked. But in those that have been completed, researchers reported that men are underdiagnosed. I totally agree with that. Men with fibromyalgia seem to have fewer and milder symptoms than female patients, including the number and severity of tender points, fatigue, and irritable bowel. But this doesn't mean that men have less pain. They absolutely have as much pain as we do and may experience even more difficulties living life and their quality of life because men are expected to continue to work. That's our culture, and are expected to continue to do the things they did before. So sometimes this can cause, some psychological problems with anxiety and depression. So fewer symptoms would be like maybe they have pain and fatigue without sleep issues or brain fog or IBS, for example, where I have all of that. And these researchers said that male patients with fibro had fewer symptoms and fewer tender points and less common hurt all over symptoms, also less fatigue, less morning fatigue, and don't normally experience IBS compared with female patients. There was a significant difference between men and women in the number of tender points. And that is a significant reason in the removal of tender points. Men, you matter. I hope you learned something. I send you gentle hugs and support. Love you.